But the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
But this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The conspiracy theory about this related to vaccine, you're right.
We had to really move at the speed of science.
Doctors are baffled. They're looking into it. They'll be back soon enough with answers to why all of our loved ones are having medical emergencies, dropping dead, blood clotting, neurological problems, those little kiddies getting all that myocarditis, and those young, healthy athletes, for whatever reason, going into cardiac arrest. But it's totally normal otherwise. They'll be back and tell us what's really going on. In the meantime, there's one thing they can tell us for sure, 100%, without a doubt. We know what it's not. I'm here with Jay Scott. Let's look at the latest in the MAHA movement. And when we talk about MAHA movement, rarely are we talking about it happening in anybody in a political position of power. We know that Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, we're going to get to her conversation in a little bit here, doing it on the local level in Texas. But there is one senator, that's Ron Johnson, who's been fairly consistent with his, creating the space for the voices of victims of this mRNA gene therapy poison, which we were all susceptible to. This is the press release Ron Johnson put out about an event he scheduled for yesterday. We have the footage. This is what he was basically doing, is holding a hearing on, and this is the positioning of, and you have to do this when you're a Republican senator, specifically going after Biden health officials' failure to detect COVID-19 vaccine safety signals. Newsflash, it was all the parties, all the officials, but that's okay. If you want to,
Operation Warp Speed, guys, but go ahead.
Yeah, let's not forget but he's got to maneuver it. And I'm just pointing that out, but he's still doing some good stuff here, but just pointing out that he's politicizing it even in his own press release. But he did do this. He came in, he held a hearing, and he called the hearing Unmasked: How Biden Health Officials Purposely Turned a Blind Eye Towards COVID-19 Vaccine Safety Signals. Here's what came out of that hearing when Ron Johnson talked about the VAERS numbers and how twisted they are, specifically with COVID.
Wrote 21 letters requesting information on what the agencies were tracking and what they knew about adverse events. I didn't need sophisticated mathematical models to tell me the COVID injection was causing significant harm. The data depicted on these charts alone should have raised the alert level to DEFCON 1. Now, this first chart is showing deaths reported on VAERS since the inception of VAERS. You can see starting in 1990, deaths were approximately a couple hundred per year. Anaphylactic shock, those types of things. In 2021, deaths spiked to 21,631. Now, again, I didn't need a mathematical algorithm to tell me there's something going on here. And by the way, a lot of people will say, well, that's because we administered billions of doses. One of the letters I wrote to the CDC showed the rate of death per dose, compared it to the flu, which is about 0.46 deaths per million doses. Time we calculated this, the COVID injection was 25.5 deaths per million doses. That's a 55-fold increase over the deaths for the flu vaccine. So something was going on here. Our federal health officials should be paying attention. Let's do the next chart. This is the most up-to-date VAERS chart now. It's showing 39,077 deaths worldwide reported to VAERS. And understand, and we'll be adding this to the record, the Pilgrim report. An HHS-funded Pilgrim study at Harvard University showed that adverse events for vaccines are reported at less than 1%.
Let's pause there. So the numbers were, just so people are absolutely clear, we're looking at numbers based on VAERS reports that are only giving us less than 1% of the actual numbers. Just so you guys understand that. That's what is happening here. And it's less and less for when we talk about COVID reports versus even other vaccines. So that's why it's less than 1%. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So just to keep that in mind.
Yeah,
go ahead.
and don't forget, this is just like the immediate effects that are happening after. This isn't catching the stuff that happens 6 months to a year down the road after the fact. This is
Yeah.
literally just stuff that's happening within the first week or two, like after the shot is taken. So, the level of damage here is off the charts. And I'm glad that he put ivermectin and those other items, up on there too, because there was so much demonization happening of ivermectin.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize it's literally safer than Advil. So
Yeah. And so good for him for getting this out there. We'll come back to Ron Johnson in a moment, but this study that came out, we do love the work that Nicholas Hustler does. He's been on point this entire last 6 years on this. The largest COVID vaccine autopsy study ever conducted found that 73.9% of deaths after vaccination were caused by the shot. 3 independent estimates yield 470,000 to 840,000 US mRNA deaths. So if you guys can do the math, that's going to get you up to these numbers, because what we got from Ron Johnson was just the VAERS reports. This is more accurate. And as he points out, we're going to play the video in a second. This is more than World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and Iraq deaths combined.
And I just want to make sure people understand what that 73.9% means. It means that out of everyone who took the COVID shots, anyone who died in that cohort, nearly 3/4 of the deaths that happened were caused directly because of the shots, according to this study. So that is absolutely insane. Like, the fact that this is still allowed to be given out is murder. Like, that's what I think about it when I hear about it. And this is being given to children. This could change the course of people's lives. It will change the course of people's lives. And one of the craziest things is a lot of the immediate deaths that happened, those were concentrated in certain batches. And there's so much data to go through. We can't get through all of it in this segment, but it also makes you wonder, okay, so we really do need to understand what's happening with the different batches, because does this data also indicate that even if you didn't have those immediate effects and you didn't get one of the worst batches, are you still at risk of other stuff later? And it's not just about justice. It's not just about stopping this from happening again. There are likely ways that we can help people and intervene preemptively before stuff happens, but we need to understand what's going on. And that's why I'm also thankful for people like Dr. Bowden, who are doing the tough work trying to find solutions to it, and she's having some great success at it so far, from what I understand. So we need to shine a light on all these things happening.
And let's just play the little video from Nicholas Hustler, who's been doing, I pronounce his name wrong, it's Hulster. Okay, here we go.
73.9% of those deaths were from the vaccine. We did do a systematic review of 325 peer-reviewed autopsy cases. We looked at all of them, adjudicated all of them. Were they from the vaccine or not? Unfortunately, yes, they are deadly. FDA Class 1 recall should have happened years ago. It's exceeded past vaccine withdrawal limits by hundreds of thousands of percent. About 4 independent estimates of American COVID-19 vaccine deaths. It ranges from about 470,000 from Pfizer alone up to 840,000 American deaths from the COVID-19 vaccines. We have to remember that is rivaling the American soldier death toll of World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and the Iraq War combined.
Even if they're only half right, suppose these numbers are wrong, right? Even if it's only half correct, this is still a tremendous crime against humanity. So at least now we are seeing more mainstream news headlines and authors acknowledging that there could be some red flags here, and maybe the rare adverse events aren't as rare as once previously thought. But come on, guys, pick up the pace, man. Like they're not recognizing the urgency of the situation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned the children earlier, and that's the biggest. I mean, that's the biggest problem of all. And luckily, Ron Johnson was able to talk about the children, because this is now being admitted by the FDA. I know we talk about Biden versus Trump, Operation Warp Speed, and Biden said it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated, all this crap. They both are guilty. It's all guilty. I don't know why we're sitting here going after Biden in this hearing. He's going after the Biden team, but it's like right now, currently, this is still being admitted to children right now. So here, this is what the FDA has now admitted, that the COVID-19 vaccines have killed children in our country. This is, and Ron Johnson is going to tell us in this hearing. Here it is.
Within FDA, you're reviewing, I think it was 96 autopsies of child death following the COVID mRNA injection. In that memo, Dr. Prasad writes, "This is a profound revelation. For the first time, the U.S. FDA will acknowledge that COVID-19 vaccines killed American children. Healthy young children who faced tremendously low risk of death were coerced at the behest of the Biden administration via school and work mandates to receive a vaccine that could result in death. In many cases, such mandates were harmful. It is difficult to read cases where kids 7 to 16 may be dead as a result of COVID vaccines."
And I wonder why he doesn't put Trump in this as well, Biden and Trump, because this is happening right now. Like you said, Operation Warp Speed back in 2020, 21, and now we're circled back to Trump, who's not doing anything about this. He's only getting more mRNA technology contracts, giving Albert Bourla from Pfizer more access to investing his money into the next killing machine that will be put out to the public. And then you have these symptoms that are coming out, these ailments from that children are having, getting diagnosed with cancer, having these myocarditis diagnosis as well, and dropping dead. And it's crazy that we're not talking about this in this administration, but at least he's talking about it in some way, in some official capacity. That's not just us doing our news show, doing a podcast. He's actually doing it in a hearing, so that's good. But let's get over to a speaker from the Children's Health Defense, which is what RFK Jr. used to champion before he got into a position of political power, which isn't actually power. Political power isn't actually political power.
He helped found this organization. People don't realize that he was a founding member of this organization. So yeah.
While RFK Jr. is doing nothing about these issues right now, at least the Children's Health Defense is doing something, and they're talking about the SV40, which is the actual ingredient in the in the vaccine that causes cancer. This is what's in the actual freaking vaccine. Here it is.
Composition and the mRNA injections. A short time later, a 2010 Rockefeller document laid out a global lockstep program, which reads like a bedtime story for totalitarian youth. A master map where you lose your rights, all in the name of making you safer, with a government control roadmap that predicted 2020 to 2022. After the world was successfully saved by being propagandized, locked down, and mass injected, in 2023, Kevin McKernan, who's here with us this weekend, yay, found 4 DNA genetic sequences of SV40 from the plasmid used for mRNA production inside the most used brand of all COVID shots in the world. The SV40 DNA sequences enhance the E. coli plasmid to make more spike RNA for the vaccine manufacturers. Everything apart from the code for that spike mRNA was supposed to be removed from the vaccine that the public received, but it wasn't. 2 months ago, further testing of the updated Pfizer jabs by McKernan showed the SV40 to still be there, but get this, with a 2 times concentration in the pediatric formula. McKernan has given numerous references which show that the promoter and enhancer of SV40, just a couple of fragments, of the full virus code, can have significant DNA modulation all by themselves, specifically influencing a protein called P53, which programs your body to continually seek out and participate in deletion of mutant cells. It's a protein you want working in top condition. But the spike S2 subunit interacts with P53, thus disturbing healthy genomic stability and normal cancer surveillance.
Oh my God.
And, really quick, just to add to what she's saying there, I know a lot of people are now aware that they redefined vaccine. Before, a vaccine was something that prevented you from catching an illness. After COVID, it became something that was a therapeutic to help you not get severe illness. So they redefined that. But that wasn't the only thing that got redefined. There are contamination levels of in medicine that are acceptable, because when in the manufacturing process, a little bit of contamination is apparently like unavoidable. And the contamination levels increased tenfold after they found out how much contamination was being found inside these COVID shots. So before, the rule was you couldn't have I forget, it's probably like 100 particles or something like that per per billion or per million or something like that of contamination. After they found out what was going on in COVID, in the mRNA shots, they increased that to 10,000 just to try to make it so it would fall within the new limits. So they adjusted the limits to include the new poison that they were trying to inject in people based on no scientific data. It's not like some more data came in and they realized the limit they had before could be raised and it was actually too conservative. They just arbitrarily decided to raise the limit. And then still, after they raised the limit, they were finding contamination outside of those levels. So they had to redefine a whole bunch of stuff, like just to allow these shots to be legal. And it's sad watching Democrats, give up this issue, I guess you could say, to a few rogue Republicans, because this seems like something so easy. This is classic corruption. Trump takes a bunch of money from drug manufacturers and then he deregulates the approval process with Operation Warp Speed, puts out a dangerous drug, and now we are where we are. So this could have been an issue the Democrats could easily weaponize against Trump, but they're just as bought off, if not more bought off by Big Pharma as Trump. So this is the situation we have. And the only reason I truly believe Ron Johnson is allowed to talk about it is because they have to let somebody bring it up. The elephant is too damn big to completely ignore. So they have to give people a little bit of hope that there's someone in there fighting for us. So.
Well, also it keeps us in line, right? Even the name, again, back to the name of that hearing, which has Biden's name, as if we're going to teach them a lesson. That Biden team that did all these horrible things, and so that keeps you thinking that you have the good guys in power right now, and then you think that we're going to hold Biden accountable, which would be great, but it's just one piece of it, and I think it does work as a distraction to make this to politicize this, when it's clearly the entire apparatus that's in on this at this point. Right. I mean, Trump having dinner with Bill Gates over here and photo opping with Alfred Bordeaux over there, and it's just come on, man. At some point, and Larry Ellison and like high-fiving with his mRNA AI technology. It's like, let's just cut the crap with this Operation Warp Speed. Pandemic of the unvaccinated. They're all in on it together, and nobody's issued any apology, and nobody has pulled this shit. And that's the main thing. We don't even need we don't even need any of that. We just need you to. In fact, we'll even concede to no. How about no jail time for you, but just take this shit off the shelves. How about that? Just give us that, and we'll drop all the charges, but get the goddamn thing off the shelves. How about that? That's not happening.
No jail time for the people who come forward. I still want jail time for some people, though.
Well, I'm saying, of course, but yeah. I'm saying even if we ask, you can't even do that. You can't even just take the thing off the shelf and say, "Oopsie, we got it wrong. Let's move on."
Stop poisoning more people. This should be like the absolute minimum, because even if you're someone who doesn't care about the lives of other people, it's going to affect all of us, because we have to pay for the medical care of people, who are affected by this, whether it's, directly or indirectly, because we all pay into, this terrible healthcare system that profits off sickness and death. So,
Well, let's look at this. I said we'll get back to Dr. Mary here, who's focusing on the conversation, which is also important, is the blood clotting itself. And we were talking about, this is what my father-in-law has been dealing with for the last 5.5 years. It's just the stuff that we've just never seen anything like this. And some doctors they know exactly what it is and they're not going to talk about it. Others, like Mary, are talking about it, which you have to, but there's still, believe me, Jay, there's still doctors who really seem like they don't have any idea. That, like when we say in this segment, doctors are baffled, there's actually a few of them that I think that are actually legitimately baffled. They don't know what the hell's going on. And you just want to be like, what? How can you not understand this? So what she's saying here, there are these clots, amyloid clots with no natural there's no explanation. So everyone's baffled about this. These unusual clots were not seen before the pandemic and are the most tangible evidence we have of harms directly from the COVID shots. And this is Major Tom Haviland, who was, I guess she did an interview with him. Here's a clip of him talking about and showing us what these clocks look like. And I'm telling, this is exactly what I've been seeing. We've seen the pictures. We've seen what they've pulled out of, obviously there's a lot of people that are seeing this and there needs to be more conversations, but this is what they look like.
These unusual white fibrous clots, Mary, that embalmers with 20 or 30 years of experience have never seen before until the years of COVID and the COVID vaccines. Here's another one. This one's about 5.5 inches long, about 1/2 inch wide. And this actually came from the abdominal aorta. It's one of the largest blood vessels in the body. And so it's a very strange phenomenon that's happening. And actually, I've been in touch with a scientific team that believes they've nailed down what's actually happening to form these clots. We believe that our natural blood clotting protein fibrinogen, it normally converts into fibrin when a normal clot's formed. The fibrinogen in this case is being hijacked by both the spike protein, either from the virus or the vaccine, is becoming phosphorylated and it's binding with that fibrinogen. And also the phospholipid nanoparticles get involved as well that, carry the mRNA vaccine to the cells. So it's a very serious problem.
So, yeah.
Really quick, this new phenomena that people have been talking about for several years now, that I was starting to question the scientific community at the beginning of COVID. I was like, why are they not talking about natural immunity? Why is this all of a sudden no longer a thing? But when I saw these clots being found and yet they just tried to sweep it under the rug, that was kind of the moment in time I completely lost faith in the medical community. I'll be honest with you, because it's like the fact that there are not alarm bells ringing across all of medicine right now, trying to figure out what's causing this, where did this come from, is absolutely astounding. I wish they had another blood clot to compare to it, so people who aren't familiar with medicine, could make the comparison. And just so people are aware, it's usually like a very dark red thing, and when you touch it, it disintegrates. But inside your body, it's able to block up your arteries. So the difference between what we're seeing now after these COVID shots versus what blood clots looked like before is two completely different worlds. It's like, pulling a goddamn snake, like a miniature white snake out of someone's blood vessels, and people have nothing to say about it. The medical community just pretends it's not happening. How can you work in this field and try to, sweep this under the rug? You should be screaming from the rooftops about this, because this is killing people. This is literally killing people right now. And if there's a way to help people and to stop it from happening, then we should be doing that. And that's exactly what Dr. Bowden has been trying to do with these trials. And apparently they've had some success for this treatment that they have to do in Japan right now. It's just that it's super expensive because you have to fly the people over there, and then the treatment itself costs over 20 grand or something like that. And of course, insurance companies don't want to cover it, because the moment they admit that there could be side effects from the shot, number one, they could be liable because, but number two, they'll also have to pay for people to get these things fixed. So it'll probably force most of them into bankruptcy, unless the government comes in and intervenes. So they're trying to sweep it under the rug at all costs. But the fact that they're not screaming from the rooftops about this is such a disgrace, man.
Yeah.
Like, to the scientific community. It's what happened with big tobacco times 100. Like, they knew tobacco and cigarettes caused lung cancer from, I think, the 50s or 60s or something like that.
Yeah.
And because the medical industry was essentially being funded and taking payments by big tobacco, they pretended it wasn't. They even prescribed people cigarettes. If you were stressed out, they would prescribe you some Marlboro. So, the fact that we haven't learned from that and we've allowed the same thing to happen repeatedly is just sad.
It's worse than cigarettes because, first of all, nobody mandated anyone to smoke a cigarette. Number two, they never forced it on kids, right? Number three, you were kind of allowed to ask the question when somebody got lung cancer, how many cigarettes did you smoke every day? What are we not allowed to ask today, Jay? And since we're in this segment, we know what it's not. What are we not allowed to ask? What is your vaccine status? How dare you? This person is suffering right now from a heart attack. He was a young athlete. He had his whole life ahead of him. How dare you ask?
You're weaponizing the death to push conspiracy theories. No, I'm trying to get justice for the family, and I'm trying to help them understand why this young person is just dropped dead from a heart attack.
No, Jay, the family's grieving right now. They're grieving. They do not ask him that. That is, by the way, that's private. That is your medical status. It's personal. You should never have to show it publicly. Oh, unless you need to get into a restaurant and have a effing lunch with your family during COVID, then it's our business what your medical records look like. And it's the business of the waiter and the host and the busboy, right?
And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if there were more unintended consequences from this shot than what they originally anticipated, because their plans don't even make sense. Like, how did they really expect people not to figure out at least some of this happening? So I feel like they probably wanted to poison a little bit of people, a little bit with some of the shots, but I feel like it's probably had worse consequences than they even realized.
Like you said about the different amounts, we know the sequence numbers. We know there were like 3 different types. We know that also the other thing they didn't account for was that in different temperatures when they were being stored, it lessened some of the effects. So you don't know what batch you got. And we tell people on the show a lot, if you still have your Vax cards and you have access to your batch number, go right now when you can to howbadismybatch.com, I believe. I don't have it. Howbadismybatch.com, and you can type in your batch number and you'll see how many negative results were reported with your batch number. And if you get like a 0 on yours, that's really good. That means you might have gotten what we know as saline solution, which is really good. You might have gotten the saline solution. They made sure that a lot of people got that. And that's because we know to spread it out, space it out. And we know for a fact who got the saline solution, and that was pharma employees, particularly Pfizer. They certainly got their own special, and they've told us they got their special one that people didn't have. I wonder what was in that, or more particularly, I wonder what was not in that. I guarantee you they didn't have any SV40 in there. Yeah. So with that said, let's wrap this segment up. Jay, this one is we know what it's not. We always like to end this with just a couple little random occurrences. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. These families are going through grief right now, so let's not have fun with it. But the point is, we can't ask. There's particular questions we can't ask the families as they're grieving right now. And these are just a couple young athletes. I just went and found these just today. Jay, this is just so people know. These gather up, and these are just a couple I just randomly found just an hour before we got on the show. This is the Texas A&M runner, dead at 21. What happened? Oh, he collapsed suddenly following a competition, which generally happens when you're a competing athlete in the NCAA. He was a standout distance runner at the Texas A&M University. He died following the medical emergency during a Friday track competition in New Orleans, which totally sucks. And there's obviously questions we're not allowed to ask about that, but let the family grieve. Condolences. to his family. Here's another one. An NFL defensive lineman, Josh Morrow, has died at the age of 35. Now, his father announced his death on Tuesday. The Raider confirmed, the Las Vegas Raider confirmed the news, and he died on April 23rd. Of course, no cause was disclosed. And I thought this was important because when this comes up and you don't get a cause, there's a reason. There's a reason you don't get a cause. And generally when we see a young person die, you want to get behind a cause. And when I say that, because it's always too soon when you're 30, 35 years old, it's too soon. Was it a hit and run or a car accident? Was it a police incident with was it a suicide? Was it anything that we need to be vocal about so we could prevent the next one? Well, there's one thing that we'll never be vocal about because it's not about preventing the next one, because then you have to admit that the thing happened. And that's the thing where in these situations, we probably aren't going to get too much more on this. I looked it up right before we started the show, and nobody's telling us what happened to this guy. It's just a normal occurrence.
Well, I can give you another reason why, and it's because if it was, for example, a heart attack or a blood clot, that's super rare for people this young to be having those kinds of issues. So they realize now that every time it happens and they announce that it was a heart attack that did this, red alarm bells start ringing in people's minds. So in order to sweep this under the rug, they have to not let you know that it was a heart attack or a blood clot, because that'll ring the alarm bell. So they're trying to avoid using those buzzwords that are going to make people demand more accountability.
That's true. Well, here's one that they did get a little more information on this one. And this is, again, another athlete, Nigeria striker, Enaramo. He dies during a match. He suffered a suspected cardiac arrest during a friendly match. The country's football federation has announced it. The 40-year-old. Oh, well, he was 40. That's kind of getting up there, Jay. Maybe he shouldn't have been running around. It's not like he was a professional athlete in his life at all. On the pitch, 5 minutes into the second half, he collapsed. Drop dead.
Do you know why it is there's been so many more athlete deaths? From what I understand, because the spike protein is traveling through the bloodstream, athletes have strong hearts, and that actually works against them with the COVID shot because it pumps the blood faster and it causes more mRNA or whatever to get stuck like along the linings of their arteries. So what they've essentially done is created a situation where people who take the right steps and to get healthy themselves are actually more at risk from dying from the shot than people who sit at home all day on the couch because their heart isn't working as hard. So, like, I don't know, I just hope people remember the days when people used to think it was a good thing to be an athlete and it was a good thing to be in shape, and that lowered your risk of getting a heart attack and blood clots. Now it seems to have elevated the risk for some people. If you took that shot, then you do need to check up, like on this situation. And again, this is not medical advice. Do not take anything, without consulting your doctor or someone first. But there is one over-the-counter supplement that you can buy right now that has been shown to, help a little bit with some of these clotting issues. It's called nattokinase, Nattokinase. So nattokinase, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly or not, but it's pretty much harmless. I took it myself for a few months because I'm pretty sure I had COVID at one point and I was just playing it safe. So, just look into it. Don't do anything without consulting your doctor first, but we need to start researching more of these solutions so we can get help to people who may be suffering from consequences of this and not even know it.
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing we do know what's going on here with all the craziness, Jay, and we're not doctors, we're not scientists. What the hell do we know? So we'll just wait for them to come back with the answers to all of our questions. But in the meantime, rest assured, we can all know for 100% certainty that we know
but it's
what
not.
It's not.